Tonight, I'm not interviewing anyone, I'm burying someone. Someone that kept me alive, but was killing everything that I loved. He was toxic, he was defensive, he was angry, and he was terrified of being abandoned, so he abandoned people first. I had to kill that version of me to reveal who I truly was. Tonight I'll be answering questions that you guys sent in from my Instagram, Southern Realtor NOC. Go give me a follow on Instagram and let's hop right into it. First question, where did the broken version of you come from? Honestly, a lot of people don't understand where my toxic traits came from. I wasn't born cold. I wasn't born angry, guarded. I became those things. Growing up, I wasn't protected. I was exposed. I was sexually assaulted by a family member. And my mom knew and had me around pedophiles. She knew I wasn't safe. And she put me there anyway. And that, within itself, knowing that somebody put you in that position that was supposed to protect you, defend you, really does something to you. Because of toxic traits that I was raised in, I stayed quiet. I never told anyone, not because I didn't know that it was wrong, but because I was taught silence. That I didn't really matter. That you're not supposed to embarrass your family. Not tell your business. Be strong. Be quiet. So I carried this secret. The little boy that should have been protected became the boy that protected everyone else. And when you grow up never being defended, you learn one toxic rule. If nobody's going to protect you, you have to protect yourself at all costs. And that's where the toxic me was born. I was hypervigilant, emotionally numb, always ready to run or fight, and always expecting betrayal. The kid who had no voice grows into the man who doesn't let anyone get close. I built walls so high, I felt like no one could ever hurt you or hurt me. It also meant that because I had these walls up, no one could truly love me. And so I lived in the shadows. I didn't learn what vulnerability was. I learned surveillance. I scanned the room for danger, not connection. I didn't trust softness. I didn't trust direction. And I didn't trust love. And here's the sick irony. I became toxic as a way to protect myself from other people's toxicity. That version of me that shut down, that got cold, that detached emotionally, he wasn't a villain, he was a shield trying to protect me. But that shield didn't just block pain, it blocked love, it blocked intimacy, it blocked healing. And one day I realized something. I wasn't protecting myself anymore. I was isolating myself. So I had to make a brutal decision. I had to kill the version of me the trauma had created. Not because he was bad, but because he wasn't needed anymore. When you've been hurt enough times, you stop letting people get close. And then you start to believe isolation is strength. But it's not strength, it's survival. Just trying to make it. My toxic traits were just symptoms of a little boy who was never protected. But I'm not that boy anymore. Thank God. Wow. Question 2. What did your toxic self cost you? Truthfully, everything that really mattered. My toxic self cost me peace, connection, love. People who genuinely cared. I lost opportunities, but worse, I lost moments I can't get back. My toxic self was meant to protect me, but it didn't at all. It isolated me. It pushed away people who were safe because I was trained to expect danger. I sabotaged relationships because I didn't know how to receive love without waiting for betrayal. I confused control with security, and I confused distance with strength. I confused silence with power. And my toxic self cost me intimacy, not just with others, but within myself, because I didn't know how to truly be vulnerable. I didn't know how to let people stay. And I didn't know what to do with love that didn't hurt. It confused me because I didn't know what true, authentic love was or looked like. And here's the deepest truth. It cost me the chance to feel loved even before I learned to love myself. I lost good people, not because I didn't care, but because I cared in a broken, toxic way. And that's deep. Question 3. What pushed you to finally change? I'd love to give you this inspirational story, but it wasn't inspiration. It wasn't motivation. It was pain. There was no breakthrough moment where I woke up one day and decided to be better. Pain was what pushed me. I changed because I got tired of waking up with regret. I got tired of seeing the disappointment in people's eyes that I truly loved. I got tired of losing people that were good to me because I still hadn't healed parts of me that came from people who weren't. There was a moment, and I remember it very vividly. I looked in the mirror and I didn't recognize the person staring back at me. I mean, it had my face, but it wasn't my soul. And I realized I was becoming the very person I swore I'd never be, my father. And that hurt. I was angry. I was closed off. I was emotionally unavailable. I was disconnected. And the trauma I never dealt with was now becoming the trauma that I was handing out to other people. And that scared me, terrified me, especially as a father. I didn't want my kids to inherit the pain, my pain, and have to carry that on them. I didn't want them to grow up wondering why I could provide them everything, but not emotional security. I changed the moment I realized I was about to become the man who hurt me. And healing didn't start with a win at all. Healing started with honesty. I finally had to look in the mirror and admit to myself the version of me that was built from trauma was now causing me even more trauma. And that destroyed me. It humbled me, and it forced me to choose. Stay the same and keep bleeding my blood on other people that didn't deserve it, or I can kill that version of me and live free and love others and help them heal as well. I didn't change because I wanted a new life. I changed because I was done repeating the old one. Bottom wasn't losing everything. It was losing myself that hurt the most. Question 4. What did killing off of that version look like? It looked like loneliness. I can't even begin to describe how lonely it is. And it's not the peaceful kind at all. It's the kind where you realize you've benefited from your brokenness. And it's time to heal. When I killed off that version of myself, I didn't just lose habits, I lost people. People that I thought that would never leave me. People that I thought truly cared and loved me. But the truth is, the new version of me didn't tolerate the disrespect. I wasn't going to stay silent anymore. I wasn't going to overgive, and I definitely wasn't going to accept breadcrumbs anymore. I was done carrying people's weight just so that I could feel needed. When that version of me died, so too did the attachments that people had on me died. Healing didn't start with love, it started with loss. And it was deep and it was heavy. It looked like nights where silence was so loud I had no choice but to face the things that I had run from my whole life. It looked like accountability. It looked like having to no one to blame but yourself. And I was just trying to survive. It looked like breaking every pattern that I was raised in and that I thought was right. It taught me not to respond out of ego, not to chase what wasn't meant for me, and not using anger to avoid dealing with tough emotions and pain. Killing off that version meant losing the identity that trauma had built within me. It meant sitting with emotions that I had never let myself feel. It meant grieving that childhood that I never got that I wanted, the safety I never felt, and the love I never received. It meant admitting the armor that I wore was choking the man underneath. Healing looks like nothing is happening on the outside world while everything is collapsing and rebuilding inside you. It's not glamorous. It's not inspirational. It's not a montage of soft music. Clearing that version of you literally looks like isolation. Tears I never let myself cry. Cutting ties with people who loved only the broken me. Apologizing where I caused damage, forgiving where I never got closure. And then finally, it looked like honoring the boy who survived and choosing to become the man who lives. That version of me wasn't bad. He was necessary. But he can't come with me where I'm going. Number 5, what do you want your kids to learn from this? I want my kids to know that this cycle of generational toxicity stops with me. I didn't go through hell so that they could repeat it. I didn't bleed emotionally so they could inherit my wounds. I did the work so that they can never have to carry what I carried. I want them to grow up knowing that strength and softness can exist in the same person. I want them to know that vulnerability isn't a weakness. Feeling isn't failure. And being emotional doesn't make you less of anything. I want them to understand that healing is not shameful, it's courageous. And most of all, I want them to see that I chose to change, not just for me, but for them. I want them to look back one day and say, my dad didn't just break generational trauma, he rebuilt a foundation of safety and security that we get to grow on. I want them to know if something hurts, they can speak up. If someone crosses a boundary, they can walk away. If life gets heavy, they don't have to carry it alone. I want them to know what safety feels like, not what survival feels like. I want them to learn that masculinity doesn't mean suppressing emotions. It means having the courage to feel them, to work through them, to acknowledge them. And if they ever doubt themselves, I want them to remember that their dad chose healing when hiding would have been easier. Because love isn't proven by perfection. Love is proven by who you're willing to become. I didn't just create a new life, I created a new legacy for them. To the version of me that kept me alive, that inner child, I want to say thank you. But your job is done. I don't need protection anymore. I need peace. The world will remember the man that I have become and not the man that I had to kill. If you're watching this, maybe it's time to bury your old self too. But let me tell you, healing is painful, but staying the same is lethal. And you can do this, I promise. I want to thank you for staying for the parts most people avoid. This is the Front Porch Chronicles, where I'm stopping performance and starting to practice truth. If my death and resurrection taught me anything, it's that peace doesn't arrive. You choose it. And you're worthy of choosing it too. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week on the Front Porch Chronicles.